In March, the coronavirus changed everything. No more in-person worship. My first guest in this new reality discussed how social distancing may seem unprecedented, but it's not. It's happened before, back during the Spanish flu of 1918. What can we learn today from what happened back then? As you have researched this, as you have researched the role of churches, what can we learn about the response back then?
Well, a couple of things. One is the church there were two different responses. There were some churches that objected to closing their services. Not in Nashville. I haven't found anybody in Nashville objecting to that, but in other places they did object. But they complied ultimately. But I think one of the main things we want to learn from this is that this, in terms of the Christian faith, is an opportunity to express our love of neighbor. That when we love our neighbors, that has priority. And loving our neighbors involves social distancing in epidemic context or pan-epidemic context. If we're going to care about our neighbor, to care about their health and to care about their life, then we love them in a way that shows mercy rather than ritual. And I think the principle of Jesus, that I desire mercy, not sacrifice, comes into play here. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. It's more important to show mercy. It's more important to love your neighbor. It's more important to social distance and to shut down your services because of the spread of the virus than it is to engage the ritual. Now, I believe the ritual is important. It's very important to me. And I love the ritual. I love gathering with people and worshiping. And that's really important to me because I think it is a moment when we encounter God together. But loving neighbor is more important than burnt offerings and sacrifice. And so what we need to hear, and what I heard in the historical record, was that same argument going on. That, for example, an MC Curfews from Louisville, Kentucky, basically said, look, we're going to meet in homes, as they did in the times of the apostles, he says. We're going to meet in homes so we can show kindness and love to the people around us. This is not about serving God or closing doors, right? This is about closing doors in order to serve God. This is closing our services in order to love our neighbor. So we don't really close the church. The church actually breaks out of its boundaries. We don't close the church. We close the services.
Well, that's a great opportunity then for the church.
Absolutely.
So there's so many people. These are such challenging times. There's so much anxiety, but it is kind of encouraging to hear that there may be opportunity and that we can come out of this okay and better.
And we have to seize the moment, though. We can't just sit back and say, we're just going to wait till things get back to normal. Maybe normal's not what we want. Maybe we want a new normal where the love of neighbor and ministry and service to the poor are more dominant than our worship services.
Is the church of today ready to rise to this challenge, in your opinion?
Well, that's a good question. I think that remains to be seen. My experience is that, yes, what I see happening in churches that I know of and that I'm aware of, I see people connecting in ways they never connected before. I see them getting out in their community in ways they haven't gotten out in their communities before. And I think that what we see in churches is a new pivot. That is, maybe there's going to be a new orientation to a different sort of ministry and a different sort of emphasis in our ministry. That, yes, we'll hold on to our services. They're really important. That's important to do. But at the same time, we need to respond to those who are hurting in our communities. And this epidemic is giving us an opportunity to respond. And we'll see how the churches respond. I hope they just respond well. I know some of them are. But I also know that some Christians are just filled with worry and anxiety, and they're filled with, they're consumed about their own interest and their own politics and their own agendas. And if that's how we come out of this, and people in our nation look back and say, those Christians, they were only concerned about politics. They were only concerned about their economics. And if that's what people see, then the church is going to be hurting even more than it was before this happened. But if they see that Christians are stepping out, engaged, moving into the community, and loving their neighbors, which is what our faith calls us to, right? It's what the gospel calls us to become Jesus for other people, to be the one through whom Jesus loves other people. If we can do that, then we might also be in a place where, as has happened in other times in history, the culture appreciates Christians.
It's our responsibility to help our members to appreciate, as we have faith, that we're not suspending our faith, that we're really demonstrating our faith by taking the measures and precautions that we're taking. Those are our responsibilities.
But when you go back, were people not taking it as seriously as it needed to be taken, do you feel like?
Well, the concern was that all over the world, and religious sectors included, had to somehow understand the enormity of the situation. As human beings, we're sometimes in denial. We don't want to accept that things are as bad as they are, particularly when it's unprecedented. So yes, there were churches, and ourselves included. Although we took some action, we didn't want to fully believe that things are as they've turned out to be.
How is it going to change churches when we do get back to normal? What is going to be different in your opinion?
Well, there was already a change happening, and we called it Future Church. And the change that was going to happen over the next 10 years is actually going to happen over the next 18 months. And here are the kind of things that are happening. One, a lot of things we did in church just didn't make any difference. People enjoyed coming and attending. They enjoyed seeing their friends, but they did not move the mission of the church to love people or to share the gospel in any meaningful way. And we have cut them because of COVID. And what we were surprised to find out is nobody missed them. So what's going to come out is an unintentional but very much needed new focus for congregations, because we're finding out a lot of things that we were spending a ton of money and a ton of energy on, we're not going to do anymore because they put a lot of stress on families, and they really don't help us move the mission down the field. The other thing is everybody's had to be church where they are. The first Reformation gave the word back to the people, the Bible back to the people. The second Reformation that we're in now is giving ministry back to the people. And so if you are in a house in a neighborhood, then you ought to be able to walk to the end of your driveway, look to the right and to the left, and then know how to do church. The time of the mega church is come and gone. It's going to be small, intimate, community-based churches where people are known and where people know each other, and they can respond to immediate needs that are within their several block circumference.
What else do you want to leave people with in the minute or so we have left?
Don't waste this crisis. You're having a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to sit down and think through your life, what matters and what doesn't. Don't waste it. Sit down, have the hard discussions with your family. This matters, this doesn't. And if it matters, focus on it. And if it doesn't, let it go.